If you're ambitious but lazy, this video is for you. Here's the honest and maybe uncomfortable truth. Time is slipping away, and real change may never come unless you act. Your mind is buzzing with ideas, plans, and dreams of how life could be different. Maybe you imagine landing your dream job, traveling the world, enjoying financial freedom, or finally expressing your creativity. But without concrete steps forward, all of that remains just daydreams, drifting further and further out of reach with each passing year. Every day spent waiting isn't just a calendar date, it's a missed opportunity. Keep putting things off, and your life can slowly turn into something predictable and dull, drained of inspiration and inner fire. That's how most people end up living. 5 years in the same position, occasional tiny raises that hardly make a difference, and sometimes life even gets harder because expenses rise just as fast as income. You end up stuck in a loop, earning more, yet feeling like nothing truly changes. The most dangerous part? This cycle begins to feel normal. Society whispers in your ear, you're just lazy, you lack ambition, you're not capable of more. But let's be clear, that's a lie. Even if the past 2, 3, or 4 years felt like dead ends, that doesn't mean your future has to look the same. You're not lazy, and you're not useless. You're stuck inside a system that trains people to run in circles like hamsters on a wheel. You've been told that slow, exhausting progress is the only path forward. What feels like laziness is really frustration and exhaustion from a model that was never designed for your growth. In reality, laziness is usually just the absence of clarity. When you don't see a clear road ahead, you stall. But the moment a real goal appears and you understand where you're headed, energy comes flooding back. Today's video is about my 5-step method to break free from this trap and finally start moving forward. So let's dive in. Step 1 is stagnation, and I'm guessing that's exactly where you are right now. You feel like you've been thrown into the deep end with no preparation or guidance, because that's the truth. You finish school, get your first job, and suddenly you're on your own. So you choose safety. You stick with one job, never taking risks, but stay too long in this stage and you risk falling into debt slavery, where your paycheck barely covers your bills. Look around. The U.S. national debt is already at $36 trillion and climbing every second. If that doesn't prove that our society is built on debt, I don't know what does. And notice the trend. Fewer people actually own homes, cars, or luxury items. Renting has become the default, not by chance, but by design. This isn't just changing times. The elites have been very clear about their agenda through what they call the Great Reset. The goal is simple. Take power away from ordinary people by stripping them of ownership and tightening control over everything.
Imagine the government owns your house and decides who gets to live there when you're not around. That's the kind of future they're aiming for, and once it's here, escaping the trap will be nearly impossible. We've been sold the lie that money doesn't bring happiness. That idea was invented by the rich to control the poor, keeping us dependent on pensions that barely cover the basics. The truth is, money equals freedom, and freedom equals happiness. The wealthy will keep getting wealthier, so why not join them? If you realize this early enough, you can take calculated risks to protect yourself before it's too late. Don't be part of the 58% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, a number I believe will only grow. Your first step is the most important. Take complete control of your finances. Track every single dollar you spend and be brutally honest about what's a necessity and what's just a luxury. Use that clarity to automate your savings so money gets set aside every month no matter the amount. After all, even your Xbox is smart enough to auto-save your game progress, so why not auto-save your money? The next stage is called ignition. Believe it or not, more than half of people never even reach this point. It's the stage where you finally notice a gap between you and your friends. You're doing everything you can to break free from stagnation, but it's tough, mainly because of two big obstacles. The first is your friends. They might not like your new mindset because it forces them either to change or be left behind, both of which can be painful. So they'll try to pull you back down to their level because that's easier. I'm sure you've seen this before. You share an achievement, and instead of celebrating, your friend changes the subject to themselves. The second problem is inflation. If you let your savings sit in the bank, inflation will slow you down and drag you back into more cycles of stagnation. Here's why. Year after year, the value of your money erodes. Let's say you've got $5,000 in the bank, earning no interest. With inflation at 2.5% a year, which is fairly typical, 20 years later, that $5,000 will still look like $5,000 on paper, but it will only buy what $3,051 can buy today. The numbers don't change, but the real value does because everything around you keeps getting more expensive. That's why it's so important to save in a way that actually grows your money. Now, let's compare that to a scenario where you invest instead. If you had put that same $5,000 into something like the S&P 500, earning around 7% annually after adjusting for inflation, the value of your money in 20 years would grow to over $20,000. Of course, there are no guarantees. Investment returns go up and down, and past performance doesn't promise anything about the future. But what this shows is the power of compound interest versus the slow erosion of inflation eating away at your savings. Even if you start with something as small as investing £5 or euros a day for the next couple of months, you're already taking your first steps out of stagnation. Just remember, only invest what you can afford. Don't leave yourself broke because the road ahead still demands a lot from you.
The next stage is acceleration. This is where you begin to pick up real momentum. But here's the catch. What got you this far won't be enough to take you to the next level unless you're willing to wait decades. This is the time to hit the gas. You need to throw yourself fully into the opportunities in front of you because they won't last forever. At this stage, I focus on 3 things that dramatically boosted my wealth: cash flow, connections, and confidence. Let's start with cash flow. You need a steady stream of money coming in so you can put it to work and multiply it. Think of cash flow as the fuel for your financial engine. The best way to create it is with a side hustle that generates income right away. It doesn't have to be a billion-dollar idea. It could be a simple service with low startup costs, managing social media, video editing, or running Facebook ads. Your goal is to bring in money quickly. If I had to start over from zero, I'd build a service-based business aimed at helping other companies, especially during uncertain economic times. Businesses are always willing to pay for anything that boosts their profits, and positioning yourself as someone who delivers results makes you invaluable. Now, let's talk about connections. Surrounding yourself with the right people can have an enormous impact on your trajectory. It's no coincidence that successful people often spend time with those who have achieved equal or greater success. There's a saying, surround yourself with 5 failures and you'll become the 6th. The people you spend time with shape your future. Connecting with like-minded individuals opens your eyes to new opportunities, keeps you motivated, and gives you access to valuable insights. Build connections on platforms like Instagram or LinkedIn, and don't hesitate to reach out to those who inspire you. Finally, let's talk about confidence. This is what separates people who accelerate their progress from those who stay stuck. Confidence allows you to take calculated risks and to make bold moves that others are too afraid to attempt. Without it, you'll hesitate in critical moments and miss out on life-changing opportunities. Push yourself out of your comfort zone and take those risks, whether it's pitching to a major client or investing in a skill that will set you apart. The next important stage is expansion. Once you've built momentum and established a solid foundation, it's time to level up. This is where your wealth stops growing in a straight line and starts compounding exponentially. The secret is simple. You're no longer just trading your time for money. You're putting your capital into tools and assets that work for you around the clock, creating passive income and building value over time. The key here is understanding the difference between assets and liabilities. You've probably heard this concept before, but at this stage, it becomes absolutely critical. Many people make the common mistake of pouring large amounts of money into liabilities, expensive cars, flashy houses, or status symbols. Sure, those things may look impressive, but they don't buy you freedom. In fact, they slowly drain your resources. A far better approach is to focus your time, effort, and money on assets that generate income or appreciate in value. That could mean rental properties, dividend-paying stocks, equity in businesses, or even investing in valuable skills you can monetize. All of these build income streams that don't demand your constant attention. Right now, these steps may feel intimidating or out of reach, but here's the truth.
Everything you've done up to this point has been preparing you for this exact phase. If you stay consistent and follow the plan, in 8 to 10 years, you'll find yourself living the reality you're only imagining today. At that point, expansion won't feel unattainable. It will be the natural next step in your journey. At this stage, there are two main approaches, and I'll break each of them down. The first is diversification, spreading your investments across different asset classes to protect your wealth and reduce risk. The second is high conviction bets, focusing your resources on a handful of investments you deeply understand and strongly believe in. This strategy carries more risk, but when executed well, it can accelerate your wealth building dramatically. Many billionaires, including Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, built their fortunes through bold, high-conviction plays. Which path you choose depends on your tolerance for risk and your level of experience. If you're just starting out, diversification may be the smarter route. But as you gain confidence and expertise, placing bigger bets can significantly amplify your results. Always remember, the goal here is to own assets that work for you. Every dollar you invest should be multiplying your wealth and pulling you closer to financial freedom. And that brings us to the final stage, mastery. This is where you've achieved true financial independence and get to live life entirely on your terms. At that point, money no longer is the problem. Your assets generate enough income to cover your lifestyle, free you from constant financial worries, and give you the freedom to design your days as you choose. Now the focus shifts from simply making money to what really matters: health, time with loved ones, creativity, and growth. But real financial mastery isn't just about enjoying the fruits of your labor on a beach in the Maldives with a cocktail in your hand. It's also about something bigger, leaving behind a legacy greater than your net worth. Look at those who've reached the very top: Warren Buffett, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates. They share one thing in common: they think beyond their own success. Philanthropy, mentorship, giving back, these are the tools that turn money into impact, transforming lives far beyond your own. That's why at this stage, priorities shift. Instead of obsessing over how much you can accumulate, the focus is on how wisely you can manage, grow, and share your wealth. It means reinvesting profits, strengthening your portfolio, and using your experience to lift others up. In the end, mastery with money isn't about the numbers in your bank account. It's about freedom. The freedom to choose how you spend your time, what projects you pursue, and the kind of mark you leave on the world. It's about becoming the author of your own story and creating a legacy that lasts. So the real question is this: are you ready to see it through? The road won't be easy, but it's the only one that leads to the life you've always dreamed of.